And most of us always want to know how, as you already know what and when. But I would always like to know how. If we don't know how to do it, then we don't know how to start. It is impossible for us to finish it. So before I talk about how, we must know the evolution. Why we need to know the evolutions? Then you will know that the things happened in the past decades. Start the mixed method as we go back to the earlier, 1959. I think that most of us, we learned a little bit about MTMM, the multi-thread and multi-method approach. Then get into the psychological thread to look at what happened in our research. Then expanding to the triangulation of the quantitative and the qualitative. Then we develop procedure for the design, advocating, testing the design. I don't want to get into every detail of evolutions, and you can see this one, I did it. So from the 1959 to the 2020, of course right now is the 2025. There's still the many articles that play important role. And I just want to mention the important stage or the period. Back in the 2003, there's the Criswell. Criswell is a very good man focused on the MMR. He established a journal of the MMR in 2007. And I read so many articles and follow the journal from the 2007 until right now. Because what? The journal, there's only one journal, as I could say at the top, the mixed method journal, that tells everything about the mixed method, so you can learn it. And not only from me, also from the IS top journal, the MS Quality, the ISR, also cite the Criswell paper to explain or extend the NMR. So the definition here, I also want to use the published in the Journal of the Mixed Method Research, the 2007. Then you can notice so many different definitions and try to develop your own. And we still talk about how to do a mixed method. I think the first step is to identify a research article. We can collect the paper from the Web of Science. We can use the mixed method, multi-method, and so on. And as you see the paper, it's better to have the two methods, include the qualitative and the quantitative. And the purpose and the risk questions. Try to use your best to find out the research test and the risk questions in the research paper. To what? To learn for the mixed method beginner, and I mean the junior researcher, to find how the researcher to develop the research questions. And also, try to know the priority of the weight, the equal weight of the quantitative dominant or the qualitative dominant, and the sequence. They collect the quantitative first or the qualitative first, and analyze both the data set. Yeah, for the most of the time, we will see the study 1 and the study 2. I also encourage the young researcher then plan your study, study 1 and study 2. It's more easy for you to learn how to do the MIST method. So types of the MIST method design, the first one called the triangulation MIST method design. You have the qualitative, you have the quantitative, and use both of them together to interpret your research. And the second one we call the exploratory, the MIST method design. We did the quantitative first, then qualitative later. For the MIST method, young researcher, I mean the junior researcher, I always encourage you to do this one first, because what? It's more easier. And here, all of us are the structural equation model researcher. So we can do the structural equation model first, and then we can do a qualitative to explain our model. It's the more easy for the young researcher. And the third one is exploratory, the MIST method design. We do the qualitative first, then the quantitative. And for this part, it's more difficult because of what? Because the qualitative one is not easy. And for me, I published many qualitative articles, even though most of my friends are not know about this one. Most of them know me about the structural equation model. And I always explain to my friend right now, my full professor paper, I mean, as I get the promotions, I use the qualitative research. Most of my friends, they would think, you use the structural equation model. I always say, no. My full professor, the important article I use is the qualitative. So until right now, for me, it's still not easy to use the exploratory, the MIST method research. Why? Because the qualitative one is not easy to finish. And how to do it, then I can explain later. So here, as you are interested about the more procedure, how do we get into it? And today I don't have the time enough to explain this slide. In the PhD course, this slide, I need more than 1 hour. The only one slide to explain the more detail. As you want to know more, I strongly suggest you to study the Griswold article, the 2020. I always like this article. And before with you, I read more than 10 times. For what? To explain it more detailed to the PhD students in the course. And about the steps, the many articles, they offer the step, like the Crystal in 1999, they offer the 9 step. In 2006, the Tedio and the Tasakuri, they provide a 7 step. But for me, I always like this one. Even though it's published in the 2003, the research method, the research design for the MIST method research, qualitative, quantitative, and MIST method approach that have the 7 steps. I always teach the master or the PhD students, then from the this is the 7th step. The first one is determine if a mismatch study is feasible. As we try to do a research, we must evaluate it is feasible or not. If not, then we can change one or have another alternative. And next one is the rational. Rational means that how, as you get into the more detailed, it is rational to do it. Maybe you have the time limitation, maybe you have the money, maybe you have so many the resource limitation of a lab. As you find that it is rational, then try to identify the data collection strategy, the priority, the sequence, the visualization, and so on. After you finish it, the step 4, from my perspective, is the most important part, the core one. Develop the quantitative and the qualitative research questions. Because of what? Because as we evaluate the research paper, we are looking into the research questions. I can explain later, but I want to emphasize your research question should be answered by this method. If not, you must ask yourself, why? Why do you want to use the mixed method to do it? And after you have the good research questions and your design is rational and feasible, then you gain to collect the qualitative and the quantitative data. So it will take a long time to collect the data. And after you get the data, you analyze separately or the concurrently. It depends on the skill that you learn, how to analyze. For me, the qualitative data always take longer time to analyze it. And finally, you write the report as the 1 or the 2-phase study. As you did a convergent study, then you may report as the 1 study, 1 phase. But for the junior research, I always encourage you separate. You have the study 1 and you have the study 2, the qualitative first or the quantitative first.